Man, you guys, it has been a hot minute since I've made a tutorial, but I recently posted on Facebook asking what people needed help with, and the biggest question that I got the most often was, how do I make cardstock for a mold if I don't have the outline? So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that today. Okay, so full disclosure with this method is that it is really hard, it is a pain in the butt, and honestly, you are probably going to hate it. So I'm just going to put in a shameless plug for my molds that I make, because I do already offer all of the cardstock outlines sized for you, and that information is on the video notes. But I know obviously we all have molds that aren't from me and that we don't always have the cardstock outlines, so that's why this tutorial exists. But just know that it is a pain, and the result isn't going to be as pretty and like finished or smooth as it would be if you already had an SVG outline to use. So there is that caveat for you. So I'm going to make cardstock for that baseball mold I showed earlier. This is the 10% baseball mold, and Natali also sells the same size as well. So all I did before taking the video was I took a picture of the mold, and it was a nice clear picture. So now I'm in Procreate on the iPad, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to insert the image. So I'm just clicking on it, and then it's going to go ahead and it's going to put that right into Procreate for me. Now I found it was actually better to take this picture in a darker room because then I could see the lines really clearly. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and add a layer. This makes it so that we'll be able to separate the drawing at the end from this picture that you put in. Otherwise you're just drawing straight onto the picture, which is not what we want. So make sure you're working on that new layer, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're just going to trace over these lines. An Apple pencil definitely works best. You can use like styluses or different things like that. My husband loves Apple. He has an Apple pencil, so I figured I would steal it for this video. I'm going to speed it up so you don't have to sit and watch all of my mistakes. Like I said, this method is really hard. It works, but it is hard. So you're just going to go around and you're just going to trace all of those outlines. I made my lines thick. You can make them thinner if you want. If you choose to do thinner, then make sure you're either sticking with like the very outside edge or the inner edge as you're tracing. Just keep it the same. That way your shape is the right shape. So then once you have your outline, you can go ahead and use the eraser to clean it up. I put it on this setting because that's what gave me a clear erase line. Some of them erase really weird, so if it's erasing kind of funky, look and see what your setting is set to because that might help. So again, I'm going to speed this up because this one is so slow, but you're just going through and erasing so that you have like a nice smooth line that you're happy with, or at least as smooth as can be, because honestly, it's a struggle, you guys. I don't know if I would ever do it this way again, but sometimes you just get desperate. So once you have those lines how you like them, have them as smooth as you'd like, you're going to go back to those layers because we want to get rid of the picture of our mold. So we're just clicking the layer and then unchecking that image, and then it will just leave your outline. The next step is to go ahead and export this file so that then you can go upload it to Cricut Design Space. Now I'm going to be really honest, I exported it as a PNG, but that didn't work. So I am not really sure what happened. It really should have, but it didn't. So here you can see my PNG. I just screenshot it and then I uploaded my screenshot into Cricut Design Space. So you can play around with that, or you can screenshot your saved file like I did. It doesn't really matter. It'll get you there in the end. So here's my screenshot. I'm just clicking on all of the gray spots that I want to get rid of because that's going to leave me with my cut file at the end. So then once you have that erased, you can go ahead and save it. I always do it as a single layer because I don't pay for Cricut, but you could do the multi-layer if you do. It's all the same color though. I don't know how multi-layer works. I'm going to be really honest because I'm cheap. But that might be a helpful thing for you. Single layer works great though. So now this is where the other fun part begins, because you have to now figure out what size is going to fit best in your mold. So I set my page to 175% because that is really close to like a real world size. So then we can just slap our mold up on that screen, and we're trying to get it to fit perfectly inside the mold. And you're going to want to have a couple different sizes to try out because it's really unlikely that you will get it on the first try. So I'm just going to go ahead and size a few, and then I'm going to send them over to my Cricut to cut them out. Okay, so here's our 3 examples to work with. Now I'm going to save these just in case I need them later and then make a copy, because if we use them as is, it's going to cut out all those inner pieces. So all I'm doing is going in and I'm telling it to contour the background. So that button was on the bottom right, and that is just going to make sure it only cuts out the outside outline so you're not dealing with a ton of little annoying pieces. Then I'm just lining them all up, and then you want to make sure you attach them. Otherwise, it's really hard to know which size is which. So this keeps them in the same order when you send them over to Cricut. Then you're going to go ahead and save your project, and then we're going to move over to the print and cut page. Okay, so here it sorts them by color, which is why I did the ones I wanted black. I click on matte, and then this next page, it took too long, so I skipped it. But I always do the heavy cardstock option when I am choosing how hard I want it to cut it. So heavy cardstock. So you're just uploading plain paper into your Cricut, hitting cut, and then it's going to go ahead and it's going to cut it out for you. And now we can go ahead and we can test the sizes. So keep them in the order they were in so we know which size works. And then you're just going to set it down into the mold to see what fits. Now when I tested these, I actually messed up because I flipped them upside down, and you just want to set them in flat as is because we haven't ever flipped the image. So set them in face up, and that's going to help you see if they have a good fit. So all of these are just a little bit too big because it's making the cardstock bow out, and that is going to allow your beads to slip underneath. So again, don't flip them like I did. That's what you'll do once you're finished, but not right now. So then you're just setting them in to see if they fit. If they do, awesome, but you don't want it to have any kind of bowing. So here you'll see I finally flipped it the right way, and it still bows. So we haven't found the right size yet, and it's because of this little corner here that I'm pointing at. So now we're just going to go back and we're going to cancel this cut because we didn't cut everything out. And then we're just going to do that sizing again to figure out what the perfect size is. I like to go ahead and save the one that worked the best for me so that I don't have to redo it. So I just copied those and then hid them. That way, if for some reason I need the old sizing down the road, it's easy to find. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hide these extra hats as well so they're out of the way. So then we're going to go back to 175%. And we're going to put the mold back up, but this time I'm going to hit that unlock button, and that's going to let me change the aspect ratio. So it's going to let me make it taller without making it skinnier, or make it skinnier without making it any taller. So it just helps you play around with the different dimensions. And again, I like to do 3 options. That just helps save time later on because you're not going back and forth. So I'm just going to quickly go through size 3 options and then send it back to the cutter to cut those out. So once you have your 3, again, make sure you lay them out in a line and attach, because otherwise you can't tell what size was what. And then you can go ahead and you can go to make, and then here's where I can show you my settings. I think I actually stuck around this time because my Cricut was on. So there, I always use that heavy cardstock option. So here they're cut out, so now we can go ahead and see how they fit. And this is really just a matter of preference. If you like it to fit like a glove and have everything covered, then you can look for that fit. If you want it to be like a little bit smaller than your mold so you have an outline, you can play around with getting that fit. So that's the nice thing about making your own cardstock, is you can figure out whatever kind of fit you want. You just want to make sure that your cardstock is able to lay flat, because if it's not flat, those beads are going to sneak underneath as you're baking. So that middle spot would be a problem spot for sure. Luckily for me, the 3rd time, well, I guess 6th time, was the charm, because this one did fit correctly. So we're going to stick it in, and like I said, this is just kind of a guesswork game, and it's never going to be perfect. You're just figuring out what you're happy with. So that fits pretty well. It doesn't bow. The edges don't have any weird gaps. So that is the size that I'm going to go ahead and use. Now these need to be flipped face down when we put them in. So what that means is that we need to go into Cricut Design Space and flip our file so that the printed side ends up on the front of your Freshie and not on the inside. So I'm going to cancel my cut, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm just gonna delete all of the sizes that didn't work. So I decided that last size was my favorite. So I'm just deleting these sizes. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna click on that. And then you're gonna go up to that flip button and we're gonna flip horizontally. So that makes it so that when you put it face down into your mold, it fits the right way. That step is super important, so make sure that you don't forget to do that flipping of your image. Now I'm just gonna go in and delete these extra ones because we don't need them anymore since we have the one that we would like. So I went ahead and I checked to make sure that the one I kept could do a contour. That's where we can see all the different sizes and stuff, and because it still can, I don't need that purple outline. So then I went ahead and I made 4 total copies of this. I selected all of them, and then I went up to align and center. So that puts them all exactly on top of each other, and then I attach them. So now we're gonna go in and we're gonna separate the different pieces that we want. This is what allows us to have different pieces be different colors. So here's my selected piece. I switched so you're not looking at my video camera now. You can actually just see my screen recording. So I'm keeping the back one as is, and the second one I decided to just go ahead and select the pieces that I wanted to keep for this specific color. So if you only want to choose 2 different colors, you can do this way. So I just picked all 4 of the outside, hid the back, and then once I click out, that piece only has those 4 pieces. It's hard to see now, but I'll show you later. Then this piece, I just went ahead and selected that middle piece. And again, you have to make sure you hide that big piece in the back because otherwise it won't work right. So this way we have that one front piece and then all 4 surrounding pieces will be the same color. Then I deleted the extra piece because we didn't need it right now. Then I'm changing it to print then cut so that I can make them all different colors and make it easier for you guys to see which piece is what color. So there you can see that orange piece is just the orange. The dark orange piece is those 4 outline pieces. And I had to go change each one, print then cut. So there, the yellow is all 4 outlines, and then that background is that dark orange color. So now you're ready to go ahead and play around with patterns. So I went ahead and picked a pattern for this middle brim, but then I decided that I didn't like the outside being the same color. So I just made a copy of that outside piece. I made sure that it was set to cut, and then I am going to go ahead and center those together. That way when I move them, they are aligned with each other. So put them where you think they should be if you have to do the same thing I do. Make sure it's attached, and then we're gonna go change the contour. So I'm just gonna get rid of that top and then that bottom piece. Yeah, it didn't work. I don't think I clicked right. So I'm gonna get rid of that bottom piece as well so that the sides are a different color. And then I'm doing the same thing on this other piece. So I'm gonna make it so that the top and the bottom are a different color as well. So that just allows for me to choose 3 different colors instead of 2. So then I made sure they're set to print then cut, and then I can go in and I can choose the patterns that I want to use. I'm going to speed this up a bit just because you don't need to watch me choose patterns for 5 minutes, but there is a lot of fun flexibility when it comes to those. So here's a nice tip to help your colors pop. I'm selecting my colored details on the side using the shift button, and then I'm going to offset, and I'm doing an offset of 0.01. So that gives me just enough offset that it almost makes an outline, and then you need to change the order over on the right so that it's in front of your big outline. Then you can make your big outline a different color, and then you can see that black outline around the back. That's that offset that I just made, and that allows you to do more colors in your cardstock. So then once you have it how you like, which I'm going to go and change these patterns because I actually decided I hate them. But once you have them how you like, you're going to go ahead and select them all and flatten them. Okay, this was a lot better. So I'm going into my recent uploads and I'm just searching Halloween to see what files I've uploaded. This is how you can add a design to your actual hat. So I just add to canvas and then view. And so here's the file that I'm going to use. And we want to make sure we do an offset so that it doesn't look too messy. So I like to start with like a 0.1 offset, but you can play around with it. I'm going to get rid of those gaps by going to cut, contour, hide all contours, and then change it back to a print then cut and keep it white. Once you have that ready, you're going to highlight and flatten, and then you can go ahead and you can put that on your hat wherever you'd like. So you can use those align buttons to align center, or you can just eyeball it. It's up to you. Sometimes they work really well. On some shapes it doesn't work as well. When you're ready, make sure you flatten it. Otherwise it's going to cut around squad girls. Then make sure you save it, and then now we're ready to go ahead and send it to the printer. So then once it's printed out, we're ready to go ahead and cut it out on our Cricut. So I always use that heavy cardstock setting, I believe is what it's called. So I'm just going to print it out, heavy cardstock. I'm not going to show it cutting again. I'm just going to show you the final result. So here we have our final one, and when we flip it face down into the mold, it should fit just perfectly. So moment of truth. There we go. And after all of that work, ladies and gentlemen, we have cardstock that fits. Hopefully that was helpful. I would love to see what you guys make. Thanks so much.